I'm talking about QR codes today. Now, in our previous video, we spoke about a quick introduction of QR codes, and we basically got to the point where we mentioned that there are different kinds of QR codes with different levels of detail. So today, I just want to go into more detail about that. So if you look at QR codes, the specification for QR codes, there are basically various versions of the QR code for different levels of detail. So if you look over here, for square QR codes, there are basically 61 versions of square QR codes that you can use. And each one of these square QR codes has a different amount of pixels in the width and height. Now, of course, in the square, the number of pixels in the horizontal and vertically will be the same. So on your smallest version 1 level, you basically have a QR code that can be 9 by 9 characters. Now, when it comes to rectangular QR codes, you basically have your smallest rectangular QR code, which will be 19 by 5 pixels across, and there are a total of 15 different types of rectangular QR codes. So most people tend to use square QR codes. Now, if you use the smallest version 1 QR code, that's basically 9 by 9 characters, 9 by 9 pixels large, it means that you can represent with those 9 by 9 pixels only 4 alphanumerical characters. Now, an alphanumerical character is pretty much, alpha is for alphabetical and numerical for number. So normally you would assume that it would be, for example, A to Z and 0 to 9. But in this specific context, alphanumerical actually refers to a few more characters. And most importantly to note is that it includes colons and forward slashes, and hyphens, which are often used in URLs. So you can comfortably use this number of characters indicated over here. So you can, for example, represent with version 1 a website address that's 4 characters or more. 4 characters or less. Now, I've just taken an example of a website address, and I've put in here, for example, mywebsite.com/contact, which will take you to the contact page. Now, it's important to note that for QR codes, you pretty much have to put in http:// in the beginning, because this identifies the specific characters as a website address. Now, HTTP is an abbreviation for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and you can also get HTTPS, which is basically for secure websites. Most websites today are HTTPS. So those are your two options. So pretty much what I just want to show you is that a simple website address, which is reasonably short, this is just a simple address taking you to a contact page, can easily be 29 characters long. Now, if you look at your different versions of QR codes, you can see that on your from version 1 you can only do 4 characters. Now, 4 characters HTTPS 1, 2, 3, 4 won't even get you as far as where your website begins. So that will definitely not work. Now, if you look at version 2, version 3, from version 3 you can get, it's the size of the square QR code is 29 by 29 pixels, and that will give you 17 characters. Now, if you go back to URL, you can say we're sitting here on 29. So that's still not sufficient for most website addresses. But if you go to version 4, you can see that version 4 is 33 by 33 pixels. That means that vertically, it's only got 4 pixels, horizontally and vertically, it's only got 4 pixels more. But see how much more characters you can actually decode in a QR code. So I would say version 4 is the sweet spot where you can use a QR code that's still quite small. If you draw a lot of rows and a grid on here, you can see that the grid of characters over here is 33 by 33. So if you want to represent a QR code, you will fill in these little squares. So 33 by 33, I mean, you're probably not going to even notice a difference in those 4 pixels. So I think the sweet spot is this QR code, which is 33 by 33 pixels. It still doesn't contain that much detail. It's only version 4, and like I said, it goes up to version 61. So we're still on the low detail side of QR codes, and it gives you 50 characters, which is quite a few to use to have a URL. Like for example, over here, we're at 29. You can see we've got quite a few spare characters that we can still add onto this URL before we get to 50. So yes, that is pretty much why I would recommend that you try and keep your URL, your website address, below 50 characters, and which will mean that you're using version 4 QR codes. Just out of interest, I googled QR codes on Wikipedia just to double check some of the facts that I've been explaining to you, and QR is actually an abbreviation for quick response codes. So that's something interesting I didn't know. So in the next video, I'm going to be showing you what you can do if this website link is actually more than 50 characters, how you can get it to fit below 50 characters so that you can still use a low detail QR code and not having to sit with the problems that a user can't scan your QR code because there's too much detail in it. I'm Martin, I'm the director at Tech Genius, and we automate businesses with technology. You're welcome to leave any comments below and any questions about QR codes, or just any question about technology for businesses in general, and I will be happy to respond.